There is a moment in every home sale that the sellers want to lose their mind. It's not the listing, it's not the open house, it's not even negotiating the deal, it's the inspection. They get that 30 to 40 page document, and suddenly it makes them feel like their home is a hot mess, that there are so many things wrong, and it's just gonna stress them out beyond belief. And there might be a buyer who now wants you to fix everything. I'm Rebecca Nedelka, your realtor mom, eXp Realty. Today I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens during the inspection process, how we navigate that inspection report, and what it actually means. Sure, there's things that are wrong in every house. Even new builds have issues. But knowing how to navigate the inspection will make that process much more easy to handle as a seller and a buyer. What actually happens during the inspection? After you accept the offer, your buyers are going to hire an inspector of their choice. They obviously have to be licensed in the state, and it's going to be their person, not yours as the seller. The inspector is going to come to your house, and they are literally going to look at everything: the electric, the HVAC, the roof, the basement, the kitchen, the bathroom, plumbing, everything. It's going to take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, depending on the size of the home, depending on how many issues they might find. Literally everything. The inspector's going to try to figure out how old's the roof based on the shingles. Are there any foundation issues, cracks? Are they settling? Does it look like water intrusion? How old's the furnace? Has it been cleaned? Is it functioning properly? If depending on the time of year, they check the air conditioning unit, is that functioning properly? They're going to look for water leaks. So they're going to run all your faucets. They're going to flush your toilets. They're going to literally check everything. They're going to go into every electrical socket. They're going to check your electric panel. They're going to say, these are double tapped. This outlet might not be grounded. Is there issues in the basement? They're going to crawl up in your attic. Is there mold anywhere? All the things. Your house is going to be gone through with a fine-tooth comb by the inspector. And guess what? That's okay. That's what they're there to do. Not to tear your house apart, but to pull out those issues for the buyer so they know what they're getting in the home. They're going to look inside, they're going to look outside. They're going to look at the grading. They're going to look to see if there's puddling in the yard. They're going to check the gutters, the downspouts. Their job is to find absolutely everything and anything that they can. And guess what? They will. During this inspection, highly, highly recommend that as the seller, you're not there. You don't need to hear all the little things that are wrong. Leave. Let them do their job. Go to work, get coffee, go for a walk, go shopping. Don't stress about what's happening at that inspection. If you're there and the inspector's pointing out these things, it's only going to frustrate you. And that's not what the inspection's for. The inspection is to find any of those things so the buyer is aware of what they might need to take care of down the road. The inspector doesn't need you to tell them that, oh, it's been like that for 20 years, it's fine. It's not going to make a difference. Again, their job is to find all the things. Once they find it, they're going to put it in that 30 to 50 page report that the buyer's going to get at the end of the inspection. What I want sellers to do is let the inspector do the job that they're hired to do, and then let the agents do their job and navigate through that report. Understanding the report, that's a really important thing for all buyers and sellers. Nobody really preps you to know what that report is going to be, and it's going to look terrifying. Like I said, 20, 30, 40, 50 pages is totally normal. It's going to include pictures. It's going to probably code things in different categories. Maybe it's a maintenance item. Maybe it's an item that you want to pay attention to, but it's not super critical. But over time, you want to keep up with it. Maybe it's a safety item. People hear safety items and they think, "Oh my God, something's wrong. It's a safety item. I can't." Realistically, the one I kind of chuckle at because it comes up under safety item and I see it on probably 80% of the reports is your kitchen stove is supposed to be braced to the wall. Most people don't brace their stove to the wall like it's intended to be. And so that shows up as a safety item. Is it a deal breaker on the house? No. If you want to put that safety bracket on there, you absolutely can. It's going to show up as a safety item, but it's not a reason to walk away from the home. Electric outlets, those often show up if they're not grounded, if they're not GFCI protected by a water source. Those are going to come up. Maybe $30, $50 repair, not super critical, but it's still a safety item. Windows not opening, shutting properly, they might not stay up, things like that. Those are safety. They're not the end of the world. It doesn't mean you can't live in the house, but if you know that it's an issue, it's something that you can address. Maybe now, maybe later. If you have little kids and the window falls when it's opened, you might want to address it sooner rather than later. So every situation in an inspection report ultimately can be handled. It's not something that you need to be fearful of. So what's really important for buyers and sellers to remember is every single house is going to have issues. New builds are going to have issues. Houses built in the 1800s might have issues. Houses built in the 1970s might have issues. Again, new builds will have issues. It's okay. It's how we negotiate and figuring out what we want to have repaired now, maybe a credit, maybe we let it go. When we break down our inspection reports, we break it into categories, as I said. The first one might be your safety. The second one are maybe deferred maintenance. The furnace runs, but they really haven't maintained it and had it serviced every year. So maybe that's one of the things that you start doing. You get a service contract and you start maintaining it. That could show up on the report as a medium item. It's not necessarily safety, but it's something that as a home buyer, you want to service your furnace and air conditioner every year. It protects the longevity of it. And then there might be some small things. Face plates, outlets that don't have a faceplate. It's like a 50-cent little plastic thing that goes over your socket. That could show as safety because you really need an outlet cover. So, there's big and there's little. Would I ever walk away from a house because it's missing a faceplate? Of course not. When you get that report, don't panic. Don't look at it at midnight, freaking out. Don't look at it after a night at the bar. Look at it with a clear head with your agent and walk through what's critical and what's not. I'm going to be honest with you, as an agent, 99% of the time, I look at my inspector that I refer to a lot of my buyers, his red and orange are the most critical. I always look at the red first. What's important here? Is there something major, or is it a bunch of ungrounded outlets or, a few $100s worth of repairs? Then I pull in, look at the orange, which are the medium items. What are going to be the most costly to the client? Those are the items that I focus on. At the end of the day, as an agent, I've looked at hundreds of inspection reports. I know what's important and I know what's items that you can overlook are. Trust that your agent is going to have your best interest and really be able to walk you through. I don't want you to buy a house that has a major foundation issue that's going to cost you $20,000, $30,000 if the price doesn't match. I'm not going to try to set you up into a house that I think has a lot of safety issues that we're not going to address. Trust your agent, trust that they know the report. That's what's key when it's reviewing that report. The negotiation after the inspection. After the inspection is done, the buyers are going to have their contingency period. They've got usually about 3 days to come back with their ROC, which is a removal of contingencies. This is the list of items that they've discussed with their agent, and they decided they want to ask for repairs. This is normal. We expect this. It's just part of the process. It's still a negotiation. Maybe you don't want to make repairs. Maybe you're not in the position to pay for these repairs up front. We still have options and we can still negotiate that. Maybe instead of fixing the things, maybe we offer a credit to have it fixed. They're probably going to request safety items to be repaired. Maybe they want you to repair or replace a defective system. But again, if you don't have the funds or you don't have the ability to make those repairs, you can negotiate back with a credit at closing. Say that they're asking for something that we think is going to cost about $1,000. In lieu of repairs, we'll issue you a $1,000 closing credit. The buyer can then take care of that when they move in with the contractor of their choice. They have to agree to it, but most of the time between the agents, we can make these things happen where it's satisfactory to both parties. Sometimes if there's something big, the buyers might try to renegotiate the price entirely. As a seller, you have that option of agreeing or not. What I think you should, as a seller, agree to fix if they ask is safety items. If it's an electrical hazard or a gas leak, maybe there's something with the structure and it truly is a safety item, it's probably something that should be considered to be evaluated. And again, maybe you fix it, maybe you give a credit, but if it's safety, most likely those are going to come back with the lender's appraisal anyways. Certain things, if there's mold, most of the time those get called out by the appraiser, so they're going to have to be fixed anyways. And those tend to be prior to closing. So if you know that you've got these issues, you might want to have them addressed ahead of time. Let's just say that in the report, it talks about your aging furnace. You might come back and say, well, the furnace was the age of the furnace when you made your offer. It's running, so why would I want to replace it? Maybe you offer to have it serviced and get a receipt that shows that it's in good working order. And that might only cost you a couple $100 versus replacing the entire unit for $5,000. Being willing to do some of these little things to eliminate some of the big things and showing that you really are trying to keep it together, that will go a long way with the buyer. So if you have an aging system, have a service done to that appliance or mechanical. If the buyers see that you're willing to negotiate it, they're more likely to stay in and stay under contract. What I would push back on, cosmetic requests. If someone says, oh, well, that carpet's old or the wood floor is scratched up. I mean, when you looked at the house, did you not notice that? Is that going to affect anybody living in the house other than you might not like the way that it looks? I wouldn't ever recommend my seller to replace carpet or buff the floors or whatever. Those are things that are cosmetic and they're not really going to be a cause to fix for an inspection report. They saw the property when they walked through and wrote their offer. Cosmetic items should have been part of their contract price. So even if some of those things are requested by the buyer and we think that they're ridiculous, how your agent addresses those with the other agent is super crucial. You don't want to just have an agent that's going to be like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. We're not going to do that. My buyer said you should have already known better, whatever. It's presentation. Hey, I see that you wanted my buyers or my sellers to replace some of the carpeting, but realistically, your buyer saw that when they came in, and we would have hoped that you would consider that when you wrote your offer. And they're willing to take care of these few items that you requested, but they feel like the carpet is not something that's needed. Really, it's about picking your battles. Everybody says, choose your battles wisely. Take care of the safety items and push back on the cosmetics. Should you get a pre-inspection? Sellers often ask, should I get my own inspection before I list my house? The argument that you can make to say, yeah, you should, is There's going to be no surprises. You can fix things on your own without now a contingency that it has to be done by a certain person or a licensed plumber. Okay, well, let's be honest. A lot of plumbing fixes are things that people can do themselves. But if it hits into the inspection report, almost guaranteed they're going to ask for a licensed plumber. The cost could have just tripled for you. If you have that pre-inspection and you see that there's a little leak, you can address that ahead of time so it's not going to show up on the inspection report, and you have better control of how you choose to repair it. You as the seller are going to control the narrative of that inspection report and what you choose to do and not do. Maybe there's a bunch of little items that we can keep off that cost you 30, 40 bucks. The argument against getting a pre-inspection is you're going to spend $300, $500. I'd say around here, the average is probably around 400, 450 maybe, but that's going to be a cost that you're going to incur. And now whatever you find in there, you have knowledge of, so you're going to disclose. Personally, I don't think disclosing is a terrible thing because chances are they're going to have an inspection as well. If you share that report up front, you're an open book. I priced my house based on the inspection. This is what they found. I'm good with it, and I priced my house accordingly. My recommendation, it definitely depends on the house. If you have a newer house, you're confident, you've maintained, you don't think there's going to be any surprises, don't spend the $400-$500. However, if there's a lot of little things that you think might come up, it might be good to go ahead and put the money into the inspection and fix the little things that you can. And then it also eliminates the surprises during the negotiation. If you didn't have that inspection and now all of a sudden there's a bunch of mold in the attic that you didn't know about because we don't go up in the attic, surprise, you just had your inspection and your house is full of mold. Know that when the inspection happens and there's mold in an attic, buyers are going to want that remediated, almost guaranteed. So now you know ahead of time that this is a thing. You can get a quote for it. Maybe you're not going to fix it, but here's the quote, and we're going to go ahead and reduce the price by the amount of the quote because that's what it's going to cost to fix. So we've priced our house accordingly, knowing that as a buyer, you're going to have to go ahead and get this remedied once you close on the deal. So again, a pre-inspection is an option. Talk to your agent, figure out the right option for you as the seller. How do you prepare for inspection day? Whether or not you do a pre-inspection, you do have to prepare the day before your inspection. You want to make sure that the inspector has access to all the things in your house. They need to be able to access your electric panel. They need to be able to access your attic. They need to access your furnace, your air conditioner. All the major mechanicals have to be accessible. If they're not, they're going to put on the inspection report inaccessible. And then that might cause the buyer to panic, like, well, why can't he see that? Like, what's going on? Is there something wrong that they're not sharing with us? So just make sure that the inspector has access to all the parts of your house, the attic, the basement, the roof, the electric, furnace, everything. Make sure that your utilities are on. If you're not living in the house, it is best to keep the utilities on because for the inspection, they need the electric to test everything. They need the water to test the water, the plumbing, all of those things, the furnace, the air conditioner. Having the electric on is crucial for an inspection. Have the gas on, have the water running. Now, in the winter, a lot of people will winterize their home, but if you keep your utilities on, keep your heat set at the right temperature, it doesn't have to be 70 degrees, but have it set in the mid 50s so it kicks on so your pipes don't freeze. Don't shut off all your utilities. You will have to pay to have them turned back on for an inspection. Also, if they're off and we're showing the house in the evenings, we're going to have no light. So it's just overall better. It shows better when your utilities are on. Take care of the easy fixes. Make sure that all the light bulbs are working. If they're burnt out, change them. Make sure that batteries in your smoke detector are working so it's not chirping at people when they come in. Make sure that your drains are clear. If you've got like hairballs down there, just clear the drains. Make sure that those easy things are taken care of so it doesn't look like a bigger problem. Provide documentation. Let's say that you got the roof replaced 5 years ago, you got new windows. Have the paperwork for those things available to the buyers. It'll ease their mind so much. If you had waterproofing done, is there a warranty? Is it transferable? Have the documentation available to not only the buyers, but to the agents so they can share all the great updates that you've done. You want to make sure that receipts and warranties are provided. Pets. If you have pets, they should not be in the home for the inspection or the showings. A lot of people will leave cats and they hide, and that's fine. But if you've got big dogs and they're just roaming the house or in a cage, constantly barking at the people, really you want to take the pets out of the house for showings and the inspection. I know you love your pets, but the inspector doesn't need a friend with him while he's trying to check the basement or the attic. Let him get his job done, have the pets removed. So basically, that's your inspection. Demystified. Every house is going to have things wrong. Don't panic. There's no reason to panic. Know the difference between the big items, the medium items, and the fluff. Certain things should be addressed, others don't really need to be. They're cosmetics. Leave the house. You want to be away during the inspection. Nobody's trying to offend you, nobody's trying to insult you. Know that every home has items show up, and that's okay. Let your agent negotiate the response. Fix the things that make sense, push back on the ones that don't. Consider a pre inspection if your house has a lot of unknowns. If your house is solid, you might not need to spend the extra money. Let it ride. Make sure your house is prepared so the agent can go through it smoothly for his inspection. The easier it is for him to do the inspection, the less time that you need to be away from your home during that time. Probably one of the most important things that I can share is the inspection is not an enemy. It's just part of the real estate transaction process. If you prepare for it properly, if you're maintaining your home while you're living there, the inspection isn't a big deal. It's not scary, and we will get through it. Every issue has a solution. It's what you choose to do. If you choose to fix it, or you choose to credit for it, or you say it's not a big deal and we're just going to let it go. If you have the right agent guiding you through the process, this will just be another thing that you move through smoothly. Next week, I'm going to share with you a real story from one of my transactions that we managed to get through, although it almost did fall apart completely because of the inspection. But it doesn't have to be a thing that derails your entire sale. There are ways to get through it. I'll share with you how we saved it and how my seller felt in the end. So if you have any questions, DM me on Instagram. I'm Rebecca Nedelka, your Realtor Mom, and I will keep the process for you simple, smooth, and sold.